Make the lie big. Make it simple. Keep saying it. And eventually, they will believe it. Adolf Hitler.
The Abracast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
Society 13 Podcast Network. Redefining podcasts. Society-13.com.
I like to listen.
Revenge in a saloon called Hell. In this comic book, a broken man named Johnny X travels to hell. To take revenge on the fallen Archangel Uriel and the Demon Lord Nizaro for ruining his life and killing his one true love. This story is one part spaghetti western, one part revenge story with a quirky, unique, tough guy. Available right now at stigmatastudios.com. Welcome to the Abracast, episode 72. I'm your homeboy, John, as you know. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate the time that I'm allowed to babble passionately at you about these items. I would like to encourage you guys to help spread the disease a little bit. That's just basically how I say support the show. I would like you to rate and review on iTunes. I haven't had a rate and review in a long while. So I read them all online. If you have something to say, good, bad, like NCO Marconi, good, bad, or the ugly, I will read it online. If you guys want to rate and review, so I'm trying to figure out what I gotta say. The begging doesn't seem to work, so I'm trying to figure out, like, hey, if you guys rate and review, I'll send you some of my homemade barbecue sauce. No, I'm not going to do that, because it's very labor intensive, but you will have my undying gratitude, and I will read your rate and review online, so I'm not begging anymore. I'm just saying, please. That is begging. I'm just saying, it would be pretty sweet if you bros would rate and review on iTunes. Tell a friend about the show. If you are a weirdo that likes the kind of shit that we talk about on the show, then you probably also know a weirdo or two that would like the kind of shit we talk about on the show. So just tell a friend about the kind of weird shit we talk about on the show. The best way to support the show is to pick up some books. You know, it's Christmas time. It's a time for giving. You know, it's like, who doesn't want to read about how God's a bastard tyrant God ruling over the world with an iron fist, cursing people to walk the earth forever, and then inadvertently sending down an angel rapist invasion. I mean, that's good Christmas reading, everybody. That's good Christmas reading. That's I'm talking all about my book, The Ages, the last graphic novel I put out. But I mean, there is good stuff there, whether it's Christmas time or not. So, again, thank you for letting me passionately babble at you. But this week I thought we would get grounded a little. Something a little bit more current after last week's 2 shows. We had a bonus show last week. I had fun doing the Paul Harvey now is the rest of the story bit. So that was fun, because usually when I do multiple shows a week, usually I will drop them Netflix style. So it'll be like all weekend of recording, and I'll drop them all at the same time. I did the 3 9/11 shows like that. It was literally recording all week long, it seemed like. So yeah, so I did the Paul Harvey thing to kind of, you know, echo the Paul Harvey thing, like take a break and then now here's the rest of the story. Anyhow, so that was fun. That was a good time. I like that. It was a great show. It was the best show. It was the best 2 shows. Not really. It was tremendous 2 shows. Look at it. So I was wondering, like, what can I do to be like current or like to talk? Like, it's always kind of, I know what I'm gonna do. I just sometimes don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So after looking, as we were creeping up on this tax reform bill, just looking at my social media for 15 minutes, and then flipping on cable news for a little bit, like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like a proverbial Acme anvil tossed off a cliff as I raced across this desert of disinformation. This episode is going to link in with, it's actually becoming a strong thread within our shows. It seems like every 10 or 20 shows this comes up. So this show is going to link into episode 43, which was Operation Mockingbird, episode 44, which was CIA culture creation, episode 30, which is The Dangerous Life and Mysterious Death of William Colby, and maybe a little bit of number 65, the end of the 60s, and the Orange Sunshine Acid Connection. That reminds me, I really have to get on that Barry Seal episode that I have been wanting to do. However, that movie's already out. I didn't even know that it was already out. It made like 0 waves at all. I totally missed it. So maybe it's not all that important. So that's how we find ourselves here, my friends. Staring into our screens, watching every insane thought that flickers across people's minds, bombarding you, fucking up your day, scooching the Overton window little by little in the directions of planned lunacy and controlled chaos. So tonight, my dear friends, mix up our trusty weapon of mass distraction, the fuel for fact-seeking, the formula for fairness, the, soda of sustainability, the Jin Jihad. Tonight, dear friends, we're going to talk about computational propaganda. A Jin Jihad is if you just take, it's more of a formula than a recipe. You got to take a mason jar, fit like most of a thing, an ice cube tray in there, a slice of lemon, 2 shots of gin, the rest of it some tonic water, and there you got it. Like, you'll mix it up, put a little chopstick in there, mix it up, something that's like antibacterial or whatever, something that's sterile, mix it up a little bit, the little mushroom cloud will come out of it, and it'll turn into a skull and crossbones, and it'll be like, wow, 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 wow. the fuel for fact-seeking, the formula for fairness, I don't know, soda of sustainability, the Jin Jihad. That's what I'm talking about. So, okay, tonight we're going to be talking about computational propaganda, and it's going to be a doozy, so strap in.
The Ages begins with the shocking story of Cain and Abel and the journey of violence and revenge spanning thousands of years, following Cain through his cursed life from an ancient invasion of malicious angels to the American Revolutionary War. A masterful, compelling journey through time, The Ages delves deep into arcane knowledge, myth, and legend. The art is stunning, and the story takes you on a journey where mortals, immortals, angels, and demons are all forced to deal with the folly that is God's creation.
It's good Christmas reading,
It's a beautifully dark and gritty ride through history. This 4-part story follows the astrological procession of the ages and how each 2,500-year age parallels major changes in the development of Earth's inhabitants. Cain's blasphemous struggle with the divine and sacred tyrant God will create and crumble empires, shape history, and cause a cosmic cataclysm.
Okay, so we're going to start after World War II. It's 1948. The U.S. Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948, commonly called Smith-Mundt Act, the Smith-Mundt Act, M-U-N-D-T, was passed and signed into law by the great President Harry S. Truman on January 27th, 1948. I'm going to read this. It's right from Wiki because it's a pretty nice summary, and I'm not going to sit here and read the whole fucking build you, okay? So here we go. Provisions. There are 3 key restrictions on the U.S. Department in the Smith-Mundt Act. The first and most well-known restriction was originally a prohibition on domestic dissemination of materials intended for foreign audiences by the State Department. The original intent was the Congress, the media, and academia would be the filter to bring inside what the State Department said overseas. In 1967, the Advisory Commission on Information, later renamed the Advisory Commission on Public Diplomacy, recommended the de facto prohibition on domestic distribution be removed, noting that, quote, nothing in the statutes officially forbidding making USIA materials available to American audiences. Rather, what began as a calculation to harden into policy, unquote. It goes on to say, the second and third provisions were of greater interest to the Congress as they answered critical concerns about deep-pocket government engaging domestic audiences. That should raise a red flag. Back to the story. Added to the Bloom Bill, the predecessor to the Smith-Mundt bill in June 1946, the Representative John M. Voorhees, Republican Ohio, quote, to remove the stigma of propaganda, unquote, and address the principal objections to the information activities the Congress intended to authorize. These provisions remain unamended and were real, and were the real prophylactic to address concerns the U.S. government would create a Nazi-style propaganda. Skipping ahead a little bit, Section 1437 of the Act requires the State Department to maximize its use of, quote, private agency, unquote. Section 1462 requires, quote, reducing government information activities, whether corresponding private information dissemination is found to be adequate, unquote. And prohibits the State Department from having a monopoly in any, quote, medium of information, unquote. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but it sounds like everyone wants the government not to propagandize towards the people. However, I have to mention in this third part that I read about Section 1437, the act requires the State Department to maximize its use of private agencies. To me, this is what gave Colby the latitude to propagandize towards Americans. Even though he said that he wasn't, we really, in the CIA culture creation thing, like CIA was running publishing houses, publishing books. You really can't aim a book towards anything. Like, I mean, it does, like like that one, I don't know, what is it, a Beach Boys song? She gets around, round. So when we go back and look at CIA Director William Colby and the testimony at like the Church Committee and the Pike Committee, if you remember going back to that episode, Colby made direct, clear distinctions about certain operations or whatever. And he clearly saying directed overseas or not aimed at the American people. What about the book the CIA was publishing, released overseas, etc., which led to the culture creation episode? So I basically just said the same thing fucking twice because I don't remember writing these notes. But we also know that the Project Mockingbird episode, there was some shenanigans going on there too with the media and whatnot. Like literally having CIA people file newspaper articles, but then having that plausible deniability saying it wasn't a CIA guy, it was actually a journalism guy, and we just funded his whatever and gave it to somebody using their quote third party, how do they put it? The use of, quote, private agencies, unquote. So you can see this guy's just stepping through a minefield of definitions. Imagine if Bill Clinton was this good at this, instead of being reduced to, well, it depends on what your definition of is, you know? Where am I at? I'm not sure what's up with that, despite Colby said clearly, if not then, clearly now the media is totally corrupted. So we're going to jump in time a little bit to 2012 when Obama signed the NDAA, which is NDAA 2013, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. Inside NDAA was what was called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. So hold on, I gotta find that because I'm gonna read that next. This is long. I'm probably gonna cut it off. I'm probably gonna cut off some important shit. These pages always stick together, motherfucker. For a decade. Oh, this is an article from John Hudson. July 2014, July 14th, 2013 on foreignpolicy.com. The article is entitled, U.S. Repeals Propaganda Ban, Spreads Government-Made News to Americans. Have you guys heard of this before? I'm just saying. I'm just asking. This happened about the same... Oh, no, hold on. For decades, a so-called anti-propaganda law prevented the U.S. government's mammoth broadcasting arm from delivering propaganda to American audiences. But on July 2nd, that came silently to an end. With the implementation of a new reform passed in January, the result, an unleashing of thousands of hours per week of government-funded radio and TV programs for domestic U.S. consumption. In a reform initially criticized as a green light for U.S. domestic propaganda efforts. So what just happened? This is a good question. Until this month, a vast ocean of U.S. programming produced by the Broadcasting Board of Governors, such as Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, /Radio Liberty, and the Middle East Broadcasting Network could only be viewed or listened to at broadcast quality in foreign countries. The programming varied in tones and quality, but its breadth is vast. It is viewed in more than 100 countries and 61 languages. The topics covered include human rights abuse in Iran, self-immolation in Tibet, human trafficking across Asia, and on-the-ground reporting in Egypt and Iraq. The restrictions of these broadcasts were due to the Smith-Mundt Act, a long-standing piece of legislation that has been amended numerous times over the years, perhaps most consequentially by Arkansas Senator J. William Fulbright, who was one of Bill Clinton's heroes, by the way. I can't go any farther than that, but I will just stop right there. KKK. In the 70s, Fulbright was no friend of VOA and Radio Free Europe, but removed to restrict them from domestic distribution, saying, quote, should be given the opportunity to take their rightful place in our graveyard of Cold War relics, unquote. Fulbright Amendment in Smith-Mundt was bolstered in 1985 by Nebraska Senator Edward Zorinsky, which I don't know any dirty laundry about, or alleged dirty laundry. As far as I know, he's never had any dirty laundry of any kind, who argued that such, quote, propaganda, unquote, should be kept out of America to distinguish us, the U.S., from, quote, from the Soviet Union, where domestic propaganda is the principal government activity, unquote. I'm running out of space. Zorinsky and Fulbright sold their amendments on sensible rhetoric. The American taxpayer, this is actually very important. I'm going to reread this part. Zorinsky and Fulbright sold their amendments on sensible rhetoric. The American taxpayer shouldn't be funding propaganda for American audiences. We shouldn't be shooting ourselves in the foot. So did Congress just tear down American public's last defense against domestic propaganda? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge, I guess. I'm reading this shit to you. You're not reading it to me. You know what I'm saying? All right. So Wiley, that is wrong. Okay. So I'm going to go on and read another article from the New York Times. This is NSA gets more latitude to share intercepted communications. Washington, in its final days, the Obama administration he did a lot of crazy shit in his final days. Here, I think this mentions it. Has expanded the power of the National Security Agency to globally intercept personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying to privacy protections. The new rules significantly relax long-standing limits on what the NSA may do with information gathered by the most powerful surveillance operations, which are largely unregulated by American wiretapping laws. These include collecting satellite transmissions, phone calls, emails that cross networks stitched abroad, and messages between people abroad that cross domestic line or domestic network switches. This means that far more officials will be searching through raw data. Essentially, the government is reducing the risk that the NSA will fail to recognize that a piece of information would be valuable to another agency. I'm just going to stop right there, but say it does all the time. Every time some crazy Muslim shoots something up, drives a truck through a crowd of people, they're always like, yeah, we knew about the guy, but he just didn't seem like a crazy enough dude. We knew about the guy. We vetted the guy. He seemed like he was like, he was pissed, but he would never do anything like this. Over and over again, this is what we hear. It's hilarious, but they could tell me probably... Well, what size underpants I'm wearing nowadays? I don't even know that. But increasing the risk of officials will see private information about innocent people. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, which you guys should know because she had the secret meeting with Bill Clinton. And then, like, the next day, everyone was like, no, Hillary's fine. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, we caught her in a bunch of lies, but there was no malice. There was no intent there. Meanwhile, they're running all these Donald Trump campaign people up in these process crimes for lying to the FBI. I guess they had intent. I guess that's what we should take away from that. Wah, wah, wah. We see private information about innocent people. Oh, hold on. Sign new rules. Loretta Lynch signed new rules permitting the NSA to dismantle raw signals intelligence information on January 3rd, after the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, signed them on December 15th, according to the 23-page, largely declassified copy of the procedures. Previously, the NSA filtered information before sharing intercepted communication with another agency like the CIA or the intelligence branches of the FBI or the Drug Enforcement Administration. The NSA's analysts pass the information they deem pertinent, screening out the identities of innocent people and irrelevant personal information. This is where we get all this unmasking of Flynn comes from. They tap foreign diplomats and so forth, but they have to, this screening process, they have to keep innocent Americans' identities secret when they're sharing this information. But this is what they did. What was her name? Rice. Anyhow, it's like they kick this Flynn. This is where they can unmask him. I don't know why. It's like they kick all those Russian diplomats out, maybe as a bait, and then like when the Trump people call them to be like, hey, what are you doing or whatever, they can record them and then later unmask them and be like, that was a Trump guy, without really having any context. Anyhow, that's where this unmasking thing comes from. With this exact thing, what they're talking about, the screening of irrelevant personal information and screening out the identities of innocent people. Under the new system, agencies will ask the NSA for access to specific surveillance feeds, making the case that they could contain information relevant and useful to their missions. The NSA will grant requests it deems reasonable after considering factors like whether large amounts of Americans' private information might be included, and if so, how damaging or embarrassing it would be if that information were, quote, improperly used or disclosed. So you have some fucking bureaucrat waging how embarrassing pieces of information about you is going to be if it gets used improperly. Oh my God, that shit. Oh, damn it. Going back to the article, among the most important questions left unanswered in February was when analysts would be permitted to use Americans' names, email addresses, or other identifying information to search a 12333 database and pull up any messages to, from, or about them that have been collected without a warrant. Ladies and gentlemen, your Obama administration. There is a parallel debate in the FISA Amendments Act warrantless surveillance program. National security analysts sometimes search that the act's repository for Americans' information, as do FBI agents working on ordinary criminal cases. Critics call this the, quote, backdoor search hole loop. You know, I'll be your backdoor man. I eat more fried chicken than any man's ever seen. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying to you? I need a break. I'm going to get through this, though, before I do it. Do you remember before the election, Obama was like, quote, it's impossible for the Russians to hack the election. What does that even mean? He says, I can't even. Remember all that? And then right after the election, he foolishly kicks out 35 diplomats, and Susan Rice illegally unmasks American citizens that were in those recordings. Anyways, let's get back on track right after this. Get on track right after this.
Vienna, 1683. Today is September 11th, 1683. The mighty army of the Ottoman Empire, led by the savage and radical terror troops of the Dar al-Harb, surround the walled city of Vienna and begin a siege to break the golden apple of Europe and kill, enslave, or convert all of its inhabitants. The valiant citizens stand against the tyrannical army with the steadfast leadership of Count Ernst Rudiger von Stromberg, the help of the ever-living rebel Cyrus the Dead Guy, and the hopes of the faraway King Jan Sobieski III and his army of flying hussars. The Vienna 1683 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
All right, so Obama sort of dismantles the Smith-Mundt Act, and then in 2016 he signs the Countering Foreign Propaganda and Disinformation Act, which was to improve the ability of the United States to counter foreign propaganda and disinformation from our enemies. And this comes from one of the I believe this is the Republican senator that did it. Senator Robbie Portman. This was the press release from his website. Last year, the United States took a critical step forward in confronting the extensive and destabilizing foreign propaganda and disinformation operations being waged against us by our foreign adversaries by passing this bipartisan Countering Foreign Propaganda Disinformation Act. But more must be done, said Senator Portman. By coordinating and synchronizing our government's response to foreign propaganda and disinformation, the United States will be more successful in ensuring that our ideas win. That should be in quotes, ensuring that, quote, our, unquote, ideas win. I'm confident that with the help of our bipartisan bill and proper coordination between government agencies and the disinformation and propaganda used against us, propaganda used against us, our allies and our interests will fail. Am I that drunk? Hold on. By better coordinating and synchronizing our government's response to foreign propaganda and disinformation, the United States will be more successful in ensuring that our ideas win. Period. I am confident that with the help of our bipartisan bill and proper coordination between government agencies, the disinformation and propaganda used against us, our allies, and our interests will fail. Okay. All right, I was just that drunk. Okay, the terrorist propaganda spread by ISIS and the systematic disinformation campaign by Russia are critical threats to our national security. I'm glad this bill include our bipartisan provisions to build on Senator Portman and my work at the Global Engagement Center. Get a room. The United States must take these threats seriously, and this is a good step that sets our country up to fight back, said Murphy.
The Non-Standard Squad, 1944. World War II. 3 weird American soldiers are on a search and rescue mission into the oldest and darkest regions of Europe. A cursed, ever-living warrior, Cyrus the Dead Guy. An experimental warbot, Sergeant Lane McCord. An all-red axe, mysterious rogue with a demon-possessed arm, come face-to-face with an army of magically corrupted machine-obsessed elves, a magic hammer-wielding Norse Ubermensch, and a Nazi wizard who is a member of the ancient Dark Order of the Shining Hexagon. The Non-Standard Squad 1944 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
All right, so we got through like a lot of this high-level legal kind of stuff. So now let's get into like the technology and briefly the psychology of what I'm talking about here. The psychology of this computational propaganda. So, do you guys know what a bot is? A bot is a program or a website or app or whatever. It's an automated social media account. And we're just going to talk. We're going to talk a lot about the nuts and bolts of this bot, or of a bot, of an army of. I'm going to teach you how to create an army of bots if you want. You will, after you listen to this episode, will be able to create an army of bots to do your will. And to create this propaganda. Well, unless you're pushing a government line, it's not really propaganda. It's marketing, I guess. You know, Edward Bernays, your office is calling. But you'll be able to create an army of bots on social media and so forth. So, for instance, okay, let's do this in some kind of order. All right, so the week before the election, some of this information comes from Twitter. Okay, so Facebook doesn't share any information because they monetize it. They sell it to businesses and whatever. So like people are creating algorithms just for you. So Facebook doesn't share any of this. However, Twitter makes a certain amount of it public. So when these guys, I watched this dude who was like the new dean of the technical sociology, whatever, yada yada of Oxford. I sat through this real dry lecture that he gave. But one of the things I took from it, I don't have the guy's name. I'm sorry. If you want, I'll put it in the Abracast Facebook page. But he says a week before the election, according to the Twitter information that they were able to give, like I said, they only give a fraction of it away, but he said the political conversation on Twitter a week before the election, 1/5 of it was actually all automated accounts, and which is what we're calling bots right now. So the amount of this thing is crazy. I'm gonna explain how to create a bot as quickly as I can. I'm gonna explain how to create an army of bots as quickly as I can, and then we're gonna get into the sociological or the psychological aspects of why this kind of thing works. Okay, so all right. So if you have a Twitter account or you have a social media account of any way, you know that you have to have like some kind of like email address to create the account around. So there's plenty of different ways to create disposable email accounts. Actually, Google even has one of them. They're called Gmail has an address alias thing that you could do where you can add plus minuses, dots wherever you want in order to create an alias. Now the way they do it and why they do that is they do it so you can sort your inbox, so you can manage your inbox separately. So if you like do towers113 at gmail.com, is the straight up email address. You can do towers.113@gmail.com for certain things. So like when you're signing up for credit cards or whatever, you're signing up for like bath towel, like you sign up for a credit card and they give you a bath towel. You like, I really want the bath towel, but I'm never going to get this credit card. You can sign up for it using that email address or whatever. And then you can sort your inbox this way. However, they give you like 100 different fucking things to do. So you could create a huge number of these aliases for your Gmail address. There's Mailinator, which gives you throwaway addresses. There's Airmail, which gives you random disposable addresses. There's Mail Drop, which gives you temporary addresses. There's Albine Blur, which gives you disposable addresses. Mailsack, which I love because it just, I mean, anything with the word sack built into it, I guess. Boom sack, whatever. Mailsack, that's from Boom sack. I used to be obsessed with a musical called Reefer Madness, the movie musical. I mean, literally, I watched it every day of my life for probably a year and a half. And, I mean, it's hilarious. But one of the tertiary characters or whatever, his name was Boomsack. But anyhow, Mailsack has disposable email addresses, and there's like Mailgun and 33 Mail. There's a bunch of you can find places that will just generate random email addresses for you. So you can get all the email addresses you want to create these Twitter accounts. So I'm trying to figure out what the next best step would be. So you have so you do this, and then you do Twitter accounts, and of course what you got to do is you have to have pictures, because no one pays any attention to a Twitter account that's just, they call it the egg, where it's just like the blank oval face. No one pays any attention to that. If your picture is an egg and you try to follow somebody, no one's going to follow you back if all you have is an egg. You can have probably the funniest tweets ever, but it's like, that's a telltale sign that it's a fuck whatever. So you have to have pictures to fit on all these accounts you're going to build. So you can have multiple. I just gave you the ability to create hundreds of Twitter accounts. So probably what's harder than that is finding 100 pictures to put in as their thing, as their like profile picture or whatever. But say you pull it off. Say you get 100 pictures. You put it. They don't necessarily have to be a person's picture. They could be a drawing. They could be a whatever. They could be an art thing. Like, just look at Twitter and see the amount of crazy stuff that people make as their things. Okay, so let's say you do both of those things. And now you're like, well, what am I going to do with all these? I can't just cycle through them every day and put a new message in or whatever. No, bros. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying to you. I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. So what you have to do is you have to create like a bot for it, like for the thing. And I'm not talking about like C++. Like, I don't know any of that. I don't know I couldn't create a bot if you had a gun to my head, but I could automate some fucking Twitter accounts. So what you got to do is you got to go to ifttt.com, and that's stands for if then that. And what that does is it has a series of recipes. So you plug in, the email address that you generated with one of these bullshit email things in there. You tie it into the Twitter account that you built for this bullshit email thing. And then you're able to automate a bunch of stuff. You can tie this into your Facebook, or you could create a Facebook page with this. You could create an Instagram page. Depends on how crazy you want to get into it. We'll just limit it at a Twitter thing. But with IFTTT, you can turn any Twitter page and you can make it disseminate into a linked Instagram page. So if you want to make a Facebook page for this Ultron 0001 that you're building, and then you do Ultron 0002 building, you could do that. You have an IFTTT for each one. You have an Instagram, a Facebook page for each one. You could link them all together. So you can kind of, you see what I'm saying? You can kind of create a tidal wave. But you're like, I can't just cycle through and tell each one of them what to do all the time, because I'm going to build like 500 of these things. No, bro. Listen to what I'm saying. So you can use IFTTT to say, you can link all of your guys like a daisy chain. So you can say whatever Ultron 0001 says, I want to retweet on 0002. Then you log on to Ultron 0003 and you say whatever Ultron 0001 says, I want to retweet. Or whatever Ultron 00, if you wanted to be extra industrious and really flood this shit up, you could do it like one of those Ponzi schemes, one of these pyramid schemes, like Amway. So every generation, like every different Ultron 000 blank, you can find the recipes to mirror the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one down the line. So this is all super important. But then you're like, well, whatever you say about these automated bots or whatever, like the guy from Oxford said, is at some point there has to be human involvement. Like a human being is curating them, a human being is steering all these bots. And you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean, do you think? And this is what he's saying, is you have to have like some kind of originator. Like you have to have someone telling the bots what to do. And this guy actually talks about, at one point in time, they were tracking these different bots that they were like, we think that these are automated accounts, so we're going to just follow them for like a year. And you could see they all flipped from Brexit to the American election to the Italian election to like the French election, and this, like, they were just rotating on this this wild just leftist wheel, like whatever, like the globalists, basically whatever the globalists are pointing at, or all these bots are like swirling around, and that's what they're all interested in. They all become subject matter experts on Brexit for whatever reason, or they all become subject matter experts on like Donald Trump or whatever. And they're just all like swirling around and changing every few months. And the way they could do this, I think, like I said, I'm not a computer programmer. I don't know how to do that. But I do know about this program called Hootsuite, which is where you sit at home with your Excel spreadsheets and you fill out the times and the dates, and then you put out your little message with your hashtags, and then you upload it to Hootsuite. And if Hootsuite is tied into your accounts, you can shove all this thing. So say like I have one account, right? I can fill out a Hootsuite spreadsheet. Say it 5 times fast. Hootsuite spreadsheet. Hootsuite spreadsheet. Hootsuite spreadsheet. Hootsuite spreadsheet. Hootsuite spreadsheet. I basically did it. So you can have all your guys pointing to this one dude, or however, like a pyramid. You could just program your capstone Twitter account to pump out something every, I don't know, I think it's 15 minutes. It was at one time. I think it was like 15-minute increments. You could program it every 15 minutes to say something crazy, what you want to say, retweet something, throw a URL for a meme down, whatever you wanted to do. You can have it at the top. And then like all the other bots that you built will just echo it. Bam, 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 bam. That way it's like new stuff every 15 minutes. It's like 1,000 points of light coming at you. But then you're like, well, what does all this mean? How do I get this many Twitter followers? How can I have as many Twitter followers to actually implement this change that you want? And I've really, I wasn't planning on taking a break right here because I'm not even really halfway through my notes, but I got to lube up. You know what I'm saying. So here, maybe I'll just no, I don't have any of this. So, okay, here. Hold on. I'll be right back, dudes. I'll finish this. I swear to God, because I know a lot of people are listening just to get to this part of it. Also, hold on.
Stigmata Studios presents The Scorpion Strikes. In this comic book, a terrorist called the...
All right, I'm back. I just needed to get a drink real quick. So, if you're listening to this and you're like, how do you get Twitter followers? I don't understand it. Like, how... I write the wittiest stuff on Twitter, and I can't even. All right, so this is an easy way to get Twitter followers. If you're posting, like if your account is a bot or whatever, and you're posting about politics, or whatever, like whatever you're posting about. Say you're going to be posting crazy leftist Twitter stuff. So what you want to do is you want to be like, okay, so what you could, I don't know exactly what you would do in this situation, but what you could do, your imagination's your guide. But listen to this. Listen to what I'm saying. Depends on what kind of stuff you want to put out, but listen to what I'm saying to you. Say you want to be like, I'm so clever and I want to put out leftist propaganda, but I need an audience. So what you could do is you could go to like Jon Stewart or John Oliver or Stephen Colbert. They're Twitter thing. So make sure you have your picture, make sure your like profile stuff is like, I'm a crazy leftist. I live in Elyria, Ohio or whatever, like red or dead, like whatever, like is going to like brand all your little Twitter bots together. And then go to Stephen Colbert and just start following the people that follow Stephen Colbert. Or start following the people that follow John Oliver. Or start following the people that follow, I don't know, Matt Damon. Or start following all the people that follow, I don't know, Harvey Weinstein. Or start following all the people that follow John Conyers. Or start following all the people that follow Al Franken. Like, okay, so you start following all those people, and you'll find out there's a math to it. So many people will follow you just because you followed them. And so you'll get like a thing, but you don't want to sign on to one of those, pay me $3 and I'll give you 40,000 Twitter followers, because he's doing exactly what you're doing. He's building bots just to give you followers. So that's all bullshit. You want people that are going to engage with your crazy socialist, leftist, communist agenda. So that's why you have to go to where that is. It's like chum in the water, right? So you start following all these people. You're building an echo chamber, So you start following all the people that follow Steve Colbert or Al Franken or whatever. And you'll find out that some of them will follow you to follow you just because you followed them. It's like a loose thing. It's like 40%, I don't know, 50, 60%. It's within that range somewhere. Some people have Twitter accounts and they don't pay attention to it at all. Or you might actually be asking a bot to follow you back. In which, unless there's like, you can set that up in IFTTT, or you can, there's ways to do that or whatever. Like I said, I'm not a computer programmer. But then you're like, well, then I'll have like, you'll get Twitter prissy. You'll be like, I'm following way more people that are following me back. Well, listen, every month or so, go on to ManageFlitter. It's manageflitter.com, I think. Anyhow, it's the only thing that you can find that bounces who's following you up next to who you're following. So it bounces you up there, so you can actually see who's you're following but not following back. And you can just get rid of all those people. Like, you give ManageFlitter access to your bot or your Twitter account or whatever, and then like you just do this and you can just unfollow, blah 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 blah. So I'm telling you, you can reasonably create a Twitter army bot by yourself right now. So a person ultimately sets up an army of Twitter accounts, and they all mirror or echoing certain accounts. Like, they don't even have to echo your account. You could also create IFTTTs recipes where they're echoing other people's accounts. So they just retweet everything John Oliver or Al Franken or John Conyers or whatever. They can echo all that stuff. and to make it seem like this huge following, and you can link them all to your Insta and or your Facebook, and just pump out memes, or articles or whatever. Now a normal person could do all this for free. That's what I'm saying, bros, for free. And this is not even about like with the algorithms and stuff like Zuckerberg talks about or Amazon's got. This is just you in a fucking a spreadsheet and a dude and a bunch of fake email addresses. Like, you can fucking do this. Now imagine, if you will, what a faceless, giant bureaucratic organization, unlimited by time or funds, could do. I'm talking about shifting influence. I'm talking about subtly changing your mind about stuff just by making a sliver of news or data seem normal or that it's popular thought. We're talking about shifting our norms and bending and testing our conformity, inducing or inducting us into a falsely created groupthink. We're all on the express elevator to hell, and some of us are still facing the right way.
Stigmata Studios presents The Scorpion Strikes. In this comic book, a terrorist called the Scorpion is transported to a secret CIA prison. He quickly turns the tables on the guards and administrators and releases the prisoners. A well-armed anarchist called Constituent Zero assembles a team and fights to take the prison back. The story is a dark political action thriller. The Scorpion's actions set the stage perfectly for the Jin Jihad. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on The Scorpion Strikes, The Jin Jihad, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com.
All right. The still facing the right way in the elevator thing is from the Ash conformity experiment, so the 50s and 60s. It's made famous by Candid Camera. It's made famous by Candid Camera from 62. They got people in the elevator. So there's one legitimate guy that's in the elevator, and they flood the elevator with people that are associated with Candid Camera, and they all face the wrong direction. And what they do is they film the guy, the subject of the experiment, and they're like, basically they're just showing how long it'll take before he conforms. Like, he flips. They got people to turn. They got people to face backwards. They got people to turn every few seconds. Like, they would open the door, and every time they would open the door, the people were faced the different directions. So, like, they go in, and like the guys that are facing backwards are facing backwards. The one poor fuck that has no idea what's going on is facing towards the door like a normal human fucking being. And the way they set this up is so shitty, because they're like, no one knows why they face the door when they get in. It's just something we all do. And you're like, no, that's where the buttons are. Like, that's where the door opens. Like, I know why I stand facing the door when I stand in there. All you people are fucking crazy that are facing the wrong direction. How do you get out? Do you moonwalk out? Do you walk backwards out? What if you hit the wall? It's this shitty fucking thing these sociologists do. But anyhow, these people still fall for it. So they get one poor guy in there. They flood the whole zone with people facing the wrong way, and they shut the elevator door. They have a certain amount of time. Everybody turns to the right, and the poor dude fucking turns to the right because he's a weak-willed, I don't know, whatever. The door opens, and they show him facing this way. The door closes. All the people turn to face the door. He faces the door. Door opens. And it's hilarious. The door closes. They all face the right side. The door opens. He's faced the right side. It's all a big joke for everybody. it's all this testing, it's all just testing this being compliant or whatever. Other things that they did is one guy got onto an elevator with his hat on, so all the people made him using the same method, like facing the wrong way. He was like, why am I facing the wrong way? So he faced the wrong way with them, and then the door opened and they had all taken their hat off, so he took his hat off, and then before the door closed again, all the people put their hats back on. He's seen it, and he put his hat back on. The door closed. Like, they were able to just to fuck with these people just because they're just pushing his level of conformity, their levels of conformity. So all you need is to isolate someone and flood the zone with your bullshit and affect, bend, twist someone's like sense of conformity. And also something else to take into account is it seems that our culture is obsessed with celebrity, is for celebrities to tell us to do stuff. And people just listen. I have no real data for this. But just look at commercials, celebrity spokespeople. Look at campaign ads. The one that sticks out to me is the one where Joss Wheaton. This is one where Joss Wheaton directed the Avengers. And I'm a Marvel guy. I'm aware of their political agenda, especially in their comics nowadays. But this Joss video was offensive. Like, everyone in that video makes more money in 15 minutes on a set of a movie than most people make in a year. And we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, Robert Downey Jr., he really can relate to my financial situation and tell me about the budget and like where... and about government. Like, you're taking civics advice from Robert Downey Jr. So this is a bad example because ultimately it didn't work, but it did work because a lot of my peers in the comic book world shared this video and they reposted it and they were like, oh look, the Avengers love Hillary. Oh, everybody, the Avengers love Hillary. And on its face, it's retarded. It's retarded. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of these people understand your plight. None of these people understand working 9 to 5. They understand working, whenever you watch, like, a DVD commentary and they're like, oh, I work 16 hours that day or whatever. It's just laughable. But for some reason, because this lady plays Natasha Romanoff in a movie that you like, or because this person has cut abs and you're secretly gay, or this person's like, I'm seriously the richest technocrat in the world and I can build a jet suit in a cave. People are like, man, he really can do that. Like, he must really know what's going on. He's a dipshit They're all dipshit actors that make a ton of money and they have no connection to you and the fucking struggles that you go through in your financial world. But, because you watch them on the big screen, you're just like, oh, I really think Mark Ruffalo knows what's best for me. Again, it's just retarded. It's so stupid, but it works, it doesn't work. I don't know. I gotta get back on track. I've gotten off track. I gotta regroup and get back on track.
Stigmata Studios presents The Scorpion Strikes. In this comic book, a terrorist called the Scorpion is transported to a secret CIA prison. He quickly turns the tables on the guards and administrators and releases the prisoners. A well-armed anarchist called Constituent Zero assembles a team and fights to take the prison back. The story is a dark political action thriller. The Scorpion's actions set the stage perfectly for the Jin Jihad. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on The Scorpion Strikes, the Jin Jihad, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com. Computational.com.
So, how do we sidestep this garbage flooding us? I think a good place to start is to sort of mitigate the stock or seriousness in which you pay attention to the social media. Start to put posts in perspective, especially if you see them over and over again. Like the meme where the gorilla is explaining to you that you can't introduce a bill without the time to read it and call yourself a responsible legislator. Like, come on, I've seen this everywhere leading up to this tax reform bill. At best, you're dealing with the work of an automated social media bot, or you're dealing with someone who isn't intellectually honest enough to remember the super liberal pineapple princess, Nancy Stretch Pelosi, that for weeks before the vote of the Affordable Care Act said, if you want to know what's in it, you got to pass it. Or now shamed super lib octogenarian John Conyers, who seemingly every time you're in the room with him and you turn the camera on and point it at him, he will tell you that he does not read bills. Or the worst case scenario, you're dealing with an uninformed knucklehead, which might be the case. Or, you know, what you could do is you could build rules. I have rules when I'm looking at a video or any kind of post that starts with, quote, "Dear white people," I do not read them. If I wanted to be lectured by a self-important dickweed social justice cunt, I would rather just buy an episode or an issue of American Chavez. So I guess I have no answers. I just want to put these computational propaganda on your radar. It is happening. I mean, look at the Green Revolution in Iran. Look at the Arab Spring. Look at the Israeli versus Palestinian recent conflict. Look at fake marketing campaigns like Coney 2012. And if you don't think that it can be turned on you and weaponized, I mean, I think that you're wrong. Also, I sort of wanted to explain how to build your own army of bots. I think everyone should know how to build an army of bots if you wanted. If you wanted to have bots, I think you could build an army of bots. And I mean, there's some like front time loaded issues, like you got a lot of build and a lot of time, but it pays off a lot. My Stigmata Studio Twitter account is a bot. Like, I totally just build it. It just regurgitates what me and some other people say, and it gets more follows than I do normally. But you know, so there it is. So, build an army of bots and enter the fray, my friends. So, before I go, while we're still at the topic a little, I felt like I should weigh in a bit on this whole net neutrality thing. You know, we're talking about government, and we're talking about the internet. We're talking about social media. So, my take on it might be a little bit different than you, because I remember 1995. 1995 is when the NSA privatized the internet, and it was once a military experiment developed by Al Gore or whoever is given like a precious infant to the free market to feed and nurture. And this is back in the day when porn was like one picture at a time. And it took minutes to rasterize on the screen. And the screen were like these big microwave-sized monitors. It started as a big, blurry, flesh-colored blob, and after 4 or 5 minutes, it was like a halfway decent picture of a blowjob, I guess. So we went from that to 22 years later, when there's full-blown, instantaneous, hours-long, streaming, full-color, stereo, audio blowjob movies that you can watch. in elevators or in Ubers or in the bathroom or anywhere. I think forsaking the free market and giving the giving the internet back to the government is an awful idea. Imagine in another 20 years how awesome the blowjob movies could be. But things stop. They stop cold when they're under government regulations. For instance, cell technology was around right after World War II. Folks, cell technology was there in the 50s, and it took almost 30 years for anyone to do anything with it. FM radio was discovered in the 1930s. Another 30 or 40 years until they got technology into the private, until they got this technology into the private sector. So think about that. Well, you think about the government can make shit fair, whatever that means. The market via competition will make it fair. Look at FedEx. Look at box shape, weight. You know, these are the things that they ask you. How fast do you need it delivered? Do you need it priority? Do you need it standard? Do you need it 2-day? And you choose what you need and you pay for that. Should some grandma who just gets the email or the internet to check her emails once a day and maybe pay her electric bills? I mean, she never even downloads blowjob pics. Should she have to pay more? Or should she have to pay more or for the same service as like one of you elite gamers? You know, that needs like the crazy gigantic bit rate and just wide open bandwidth. You know, their needs are totally different. The needs of these two samples, of course, they're imaginary samples. I just dreamed them up in my head, but they're totally different. And what's the middle ground? You know, if they're all going to get like one fee, like what's going to happen? The elite gamer isn't going to get the bandwidth he needs or the speed in which he needs, and the grandma's going to get more than she needs. The fact of the matter is you just need to have swim lanes, and everyone needs to pay for the swim lanes. I know all you fucking millennial kids out there hate your cable companies. It's so weird, but you hate to pay for your entertainment. It's so crazy, but it just needs to happen, bros. It just needs to happen. Hey, here we go. We're going to wrap this stuff up, and I'm going to explain to you after this why if you have a band, you need to start submitting your music. So just wait till the end of the show, and I'm going to explain to you there. So here we go. We're going to wrap this sucker up.
Stigmata Studios presents The Test of the Scorpion. In this comic book, while the Jin Jihad is raging on one side of the city, the terrorist called the Scorpion sets a secondary attack in motion as he obtains a small tactical nuclear bomb. A mysterious, ever-living warrior called Cyrus the Dead Guy steps forward to test the faith of the Scorpion and his lunatic followers. This is an action-adventure story. It's a bit of swashbuckling that wraps up the Jihad stories. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on the Scorpion Strikes, the Jin Jihad, the Test of the Scorpion, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com.
All right, bro. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that I might have, not taught you something. That sounds crazy. I hope you like the show. I would hope you support the show by rate and review or buy some books or tell a friend about it. And tell somebody. Listen to this guy passionately babble about these weird things. I'd also like to say we have a current call out to musicians. If you're in a band or you are a music maker, or you sit around and play your kazoo and you think it's fantastic, like, I'm open to submissions. Towers113@gmail.com. You can send me a link. You can send me whatever you want. I am open to it. And if you listen to the end of this episode, you'll find out why. I'm at the end of my rope. So, thank you very much. Again, thank you guys so much. Rate and review the show. Support the show. Spread the disease. Record something, write something, draw something. I don't think the human being is happy unless they're in a creative state. So, create something, bros. Create something. Don't forget to visit stigmatastudios.com. Up in the left-hand corner, there's all my social media links. You can find them there. If you want to engage with me, please do. I wish you would. Remember, please, I said that I'm not going to beg, but I'm fucking begging. Fucking begging to just rate and review the show. And so we all know that this is what you might not know. You might not ever make it to this far into the episode, but this is when I do my decompression. I usually put some indie music on. This is why I need some music from listeners, because I'm running out. So I want to invite you to listen to me performing "Bring the Noise" by Public Enemy. Thank you guys. Remember to check out www.stigmatastudios.com. And thank you guys for listening to this episode. I love you all. I'll see you next week. Bass, how low can you go? Death Row, what a brother knows. Once again, back is the incredible, the rhyme animal, the incannibal D, Public Enemy #1. 5-0 said freeze, and I got numb. Can I tell him that I never really had a gun? But it's the wax that the Terminator Rex spun. Now they got me in a cell, cause my records they sell, and a brother like me said, well, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to. What he say to you, what you ought to do is follow. For now, power what the people say. Make a miracle, D. Pump up the lyrical. Black is back, all in. We're gonna win. Check it out. Yeah, y'all. Here we go again. Never badder than bad, cause a brother is madder than mad at the fact that's corrupt like a senator. Soul on a roll, but you treat it like soap on a rope, cause the beats and the lines are so dope. Listen for lessons I say in inside music that the critics are blasting me for. They'll never care what the brothers and sisters mouth across the country has us up for the war. We got to demonstrate, come on now. Ain't got no time to wait. Is it gonna click again? Radio stations, I question they're black, but they call themselves black, but we'll see if they'll play this. Turn it up. Here, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna do better this time. Here we go. I'm gonna do better. Get from in front of me. The crowd runs to me. My DJ is warm. He's ex. I call him Noam, you know. He can cut a record from side to side. So with the ride, the glide should be much safer than a suicide. Soul control. Beat is a father of your rock and roll. Music for watching, for which you call a band, man. Making a music, but you can't do it, you know. You call them demos, but we ride limos too. What you gonna do? Rap is not afraid of you. Beat is for Sonny Bono. Beat is for Yoko Ono. Run DMC. First that DJ could be a band. Stand on his own feet. Get you off your seat. Beat is for Eric B and LL as well. Hell, wax is for Anthrax. So we can rock the bells. Ever forever. Universal will sell. Time for me to exit. Terminator exit. from coast to coast so you can feel like a comatose. Stand, my man, beat is the same with the most toast. Rock with some pizzazz, it will last while you ask. Roll with the rock stars, we'll never get accepted as. We got to plead the fifth, we can't investigate. No need to wait, get your posse straight. Hey, posse in effect got flavor. Terminator, extra signs, checks, plays to get paid. We got to check it out on the avenue. A magazine or two, is this and me, is this and you? Yeah, I'm telling you.